Okay, is this working? Let me just make sure.
Remind them to sign in if they didn't.
Okay,
And then
sign
also
in.
tell them if you want to mention that if they're interested in getting their certification, be in touch, like talk to me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Through it.
Okay, do me a favor, make a little list here. Hold on. I'm not seeing that this is working. Hold on. Bill? Working. We don't want. Okay. Do you hear it? I feel it. Okay, now we hear it? Okay, great. Let me put a little bit closer to my mouth.
Or we can turn it up.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
So most important thing is to sign in if they didn't.
Okay, and then teacher certification. Okay, I'm also going to give a state of the union college experience. Okay, everybody feel free to continue eating. Can everybody hear me? I feel like there's an echo. Yeah. So let's make sure there isn't. Okay. If not, I take off the microphone because I'm pretty loud. There is an echo. You're working on it? Okay. A few things. First of all of you have sign-in sheets. Please sign in. Second thing, those people who are interested in continuing their certification, which is really, really important. We now have a program we signed up with. Everybody can renew their Florida Department of Education certification. They should be in touch with Sippy Romero. Let's just spend a few minutes. Wait, this is still not. Just driving me crazy. What? Because I can hear myself. Right, there's an echo. If not, yeah, I can.
Loud enough? Is it loud enough? Are you guys hearing her well?
Yeah, but you're hearing, like I'm hearing through the thing. Yeah. Okay. We're going to first do like a really quick thank yous because so many people worked hard to make this event happen. Let's start with Sippy Romero. She's taken on both, unbelievable Miami-Dade, Broward that we added this year, Palm Beach, IDIA, and she's done a phenomenal job, so I just want to thank her. My daughter, Michal Behar, who's constantly dealing with the finances and the boards of education. Our executive staff here, which is Emily, Jeanette, and Rebecca, who is our everything. And one of the biggest, beautiful things that she does is she spends a lot of time thinking about what we'll enjoy, what our presents look like, and how the room looks like. And that is definitely not something that I can take any credit for. So we want to thank Rebecca. So much of the payments that keep this place afloat is via Kobe and payroll. So we want to thank him. Okay, I don't think I've forgotten anybody. With us here today is our technology team. Bill Smith has been with Tree of Knowledge basically since 1999, maybe 2000. He has moved with us from Cleveland, Miami, Lakewood, Cincinnati, you name it, New York City. All of the technology for Tree of Knowledge goes through his office in Dayton, Ohio, and I really feel it's important that you know some of the behind the scenes. Welcome Bill Smith and his son Matt. Okay, all right, little State of the Union, where and how is Tree of Knowledge? So first let's just start personally. A lot of discussion as to where I live. I am a Florida resident. I live here 6 months a year. I go back and forth between all of the Tree of Knowledge offices. One of our largest offices is in Lakewood, New Jersey. However, we have offices now in the Upper West Side, Manhattan, Cleveland, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, and Passaic, New Jersey. Approved for next year that we just got in RFPs. Cleveland Municipal School District, Cincinnati Municipal School District, Tampa, Jacksonville. We'll be going to Passaic, Lakewood, and all the places that we've been in the past. Miami-Dade did not require an RFP, thank you God. They just renewed us. So there's a lot going on here and a lot of opportunity for growth. So we even already got new schools in Boca that we never had a chance to get that are back with us for next year. So there is a lot of room for growth within the company and recommending people to teach in the company. There is a fee for referrals, and we encourage you all to refer friends and family, and because we are just one family and we have multiple cities. So maybe somebody's moving or they're thinking about moving, be in touch with us. Right now, most people are moving here, but you never know. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to go through what Tree of Knowledge is. And I just also want to explain, because there's a lot of newcomers here, what does Tree of Knowledge do? So we are a non-for-profit, comprehensive psychoeducational program, which means we do a lot of government programs like Title I, IDIA, and all the funds that come through the federal government. But we also do psychoeducational testing to help kids get onto UA. Mordechai Salfer, who is a clinical psychologist and the executive director, is certified Florida, Ohio, New York, New Jersey. So a lot of the testing. Right, oh, nice to know, okay. Testing for autism. Here it is not covered, although you can use your UA grant. We are UA approved. In Ohio, Medicaid covers. At other places it may, but not here in Florida. Okay, we have added ABA to our services of what we offer. We have just become a network with Florida Blue and in Aetna. So those are the two biggest insurances. We do not take Medicaid. We cannot get into Medicaid because there's a moratorium, and we cannot take CMS because there's a moratorium. But there are two large companies that allow for it. So I just wanted to bring it up. You want to switch because this is much better for me. Thank you. Is this better? Okay, can everybody hear me? I think it's coming from one of the screens there. Is that possible? Okay. All right. Why are we doing this training? What is the importance of this training? So first of all, we like to have luncheons to just meet and greet. Everybody's working in their individual schools, and unfortunately, we never have the time to just say hello and say thank you. You are the heart and soul of what we do, and without teachers, we are nothing. So welcome, and we try to do this maybe once a year, twice a year. Again, if you feel there's a training that would benefit you, we are open to, I think I'm going to just take off the period. We are open to, I think I just need a microphone. Again, this is too much. Okay. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So we're open to ideas, but let me tell you, today's available for all of you. It has now been put basically on YouTube. But what do we do with those kids who can read, but they don't really get, they don't see that movie in their mind? What do we do to fix that? And I said, well, Vivian, you know what's interesting? I'm watching these people in the hospital do a lot of visualizations. There's a lot of research that shows that visualization helps you. It calms you. It keeps you able to sit, right? I'm wondering if there's like some connection, right? At the time, we were servicing a district called Shaker Schools, and we went to meet with the superintendent. We asked him, what's the program that you use when you have children that are struggling with this area? And they said, we have this program called visualization, verbalization. Vivian and I went to get trained. And the first training that we did for staff, because remember at that time, the vast majority of our tutors were working in hospitals, was this program. I went on to start Tree of Knowledge, get involved, started all over the place. Vivian stayed in upgrading her skill in this program. It's a Lindenwood program. She was constantly going to trainings. She was constantly training staff on this program. She died last year. And before she died, she sent me she always would send me like her most updated PowerPoint. And she said, Nikki, I want you to continue this. I'm sending you my most updated PowerPoint. And it is that PowerPoint that turned us into what you're going to see today. We added a little AI to it. The crazy part about this is, it's a program we've been doing since 1999. Wow. And I'm going to explain to you what we've changed over time based on we are dealing with, Generation Z or whatever they're called today. So we've got some differences. But I'm giving you a program, and you have the materials with you, that is something you can implement right away. All of the reading curriculums today have talked about.
You need to wear this. The speaker's off, but it's live stream.
Okay, perfect. All of the reading programs, no matter what you choose, whether it's Hufflin Mifflin or whatever it is, they'll talk about visualization. They'll talk about using it for vocabulary. And what this program does is it breaks it down into very small pieces so that you can teach the visualization, verbalization piece. Now, we are not going to finish this training today. It's a program that takes a while. But the goal is that you should be able to leave having some idea of what this program is, and you could start it. That is the goal. There's multiple steps, and maybe as we continue, you'll let us know the feedback if you want us to continue it or not. But it'll at least get you started on the path of teaching visualization, verbalization, okay? This is an interactive workshop. This is not me talking the entire time. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to stop me. Feel free to say like, hey, well, I'm not understanding this, okay? There is a woman in Lakewood, New Jersey, which I wanted to get for here. Her name is Ruchama Hecht. She's the director of speech in New Jersey, and she's been doing this program since we did our first training in 1999 as a speech therapist because she teaches comprehension. So we have a lot of feedback from multiple staff in multiple areas, reading specialists, just regular tutors, speech therapists who've incorporated this into what they do, okay? In front of you, you should have this book. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Not the cards. You should have this PowerPoint. Now, hold on a second. As you can see, technology is not my thing. Bill, how do I get it to the next page? Do I go like this? Oh, there's a clicker. Huh? Yeah. Okay. You don't need to read about me, but just a little background. Well, the clicker's not working. Oh, we're having a great day today. I always say, thank God I lived before technology, so I can do things without it, but it's always nice when you do. Which, the up arrow? Yep. Oh. Nope, not working.
You don't have to point.
Okay. All right, now it works. Okay, let's go. No, it went back to where it went back. It should go to the next slide. Let's see if this works. I'm just going to use this.
Wait.
Okay.
Maybe it's down there. Is that your first slide?
Yeah, but hold on one second. I'm going to go back now. Okay, just real quickly. In Ohio, I'm a licensed school psychologist. a special education teacher, and a BCBA. In Ohio, you have to get an additional thing, so I'm a COBA. In Florida, I am not a school psychologist. I am a special education teacher, a BCBA, and also a Wilson certified level 1 dyslexia practitioner, okay? My BCBA license now is pretty much national. It's in New Jersey, it's in Utah, it's in New York, it's all over. That's the one that I've kind of sort of kept going, and I'll talk about how behaviors affect this as well. Okay, so I'm going to add in a little bit about that as well. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about the cognitive processing. There's a lot that goes into comprehension. It's not a one-directional situation, and there's a lot of stuff like that. And, I'm going to talk about like a lot of different areas. Okay, I'm going to skip this because okay. So in order to understand visualization, you have to understand how the brain works. The left and the right, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about structure words. The structure words are in front of you. We have made cards for you. You can make your own cards. You can make cards with pictures or without pictures. So that's something else we're going to talk about, whether you want to use pictures at all. We're going to talk about technique. We're talking about the reading process. And, pretty much how you get the acquisition for this. I'm going to skip this slide. Okay. All right. Left, right. Very important. The goal, the reason that we talk about this as teachers all day long. Reading is so important. Reading gives them skill. I want to talk about the cognitive process of reading. Yes, of course, it's a skill. But a lot of people will say, and they'll argue with me today, with the invention of AI and all the different computer-related stuff, how much reading do you really need to do? And is it that important? And I will go back. That is not why we want kids to read. We do want that, all of that too. But we really want kids to read because it is one of the exclusive skills that uses the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain together. We know that we have a left side of the brain and a right side of the brain. The newest research that has come out has shown that there are electrical currents that go between the left side and the right side. There are certain activities that stimulate those electrical currents. One of them is reading. If you do not stimulate the electrical currents, what do you think happens? Problems. Because a left side of the brain is very rigid, right? That's the numeric phonics part. The right side of the brain is all about creativity. If you don't have them talking to each other, problem solving becomes very difficult. So there's a reason why kids who never learn to read tend to have a lot of behavioral issues. And so much of it is coming from the electrical currents that aren't working. We now see this in MRI imaging. We now see this with kids who have seizures. Because really a seizure is a breakdown of that electrical current. And therefore, a lot of the products of that are things like the left side of the brain, left side of the body not working so well, the inability to be able to problem solve. So there's actually very few activities that we do with children that actually use both simultaneously. Reading is one of them. And do you know what the other one is? It's actually funny. Swimming, exercise, dancing, movement. Okay? So that is one of the few things, again, and that's why multisensory reading is so important and movement is so important, because when we're doing the stimulation, we want our hands to be moving. There's nothing wrong with the hands being moving. The hands will stimulate the right side and the left side. We want them to do a dance. We want them to do a chant, because all of this helps. And one of the biggest things that I always say is we should start with music, because music is the third dimension that also stimulates the left and the right. It's primarily right, but it also stimulates the left. Yes. Yeah.
Also apply to audiobooks. Do they have to read the books, or can they just listen?
No. Audiobooks are not going to be doing what reading, actual looking at the book does. Now, it's a great thing for comprehension, and I'm all for parents. I'm glad you brought that question up. I am all for parents doing audiobooks that are on a higher level than what the kids can read, right? Because I just think it increases their vocabulary, But you got to be careful with it because there is a downside to it. And I've experienced this as a mother. The downside is they're getting audiobooks on 4th grade level. They're in kindergarten and 1st grade reading Spot Sat on a Mat. There's going to be some frustration there. And that's okay because eventually the phonics will catch up. But that's what happens with audiobooks, okay? So here's the logical part versus the creative part, okay? All right. So the concept is that if I can't picture it, I cannot understand it. It's a quote from Albert Einstein. Now, we see this and we saw this in the hospital-based programs. If you talk to students that are going through chemotherapy or adults going through chemotherapy, one of the biggest frustrations that they will have, besides feeling always sick and all that other stuff, and now we have a lot of medicines that help with that, but one of the biggest issues was that they stop visualizing. It's something about the drugs, but it is vital to be able to keep plugging it so that they can continue. And that's really important when you're teaching reading. If they're reading very slow because their phonics are so not accurate and not fluent, then they won't be able to picture it. Okay? So that's also a problem. That gets in the way sometimes of them being able to picture what they're reading. But the key thing is that they have to picture it, because if you can't picture it, you will never understand it. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom over this because we don't have a lot of time. But basically, Albert Einstein didn't learn to read. There's like a lot of documentation about his reading and how he was affected by it. But what he could do very well was visualize. So probably he had a phonics-based learning issue, but he could visualize. And all of his creations later on were based on that visualization piece, okay? I always say phonics are much easier to fix than comprehension. Visualization is a much harder thing to fix. Okay, I'm going to go on like this. So it is impossible even to think without a mental picture. And if you're thinking without a mental picture, I've had a lot of teachers in different trainings all over, and they've been like, I thought about it. I was having a really bad day. Something happened, traumatic, and lately we've had a lot of trauma in our lives. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't visualize. I couldn't figure out what to do for supper. I couldn't picture. Mental pictures are very, very important. And if you can't picture them, you won't be able to do. So we also know that trauma floods the mental picture. Even listening to news, and I'm not getting political here, just saying putting on any news that you choose to put on these days can give you trauma. And
Which way? What do you mean?
because you learn about all the bad things that are happening, and then therefore you internalize it and you can't function. Yeah. It's a lot happening. Okay. Visualization is directly related to language comprehension and critical thinking. Imagery is the primary sensor connection to the brain. So if you can't do this now, who has comprehension disorders? Right? Who are the kids that we are working with that cannot do this? Okay? So you have the dyslexic kids, and those kids, it's not really so much a comprehension issue. It's a comprehension issue because they are not accurate readers. They usually will have very good comprehension orally. So if you read them the book, they'll get it. When they have to read out loud and they're cracking their teeth, they lose that mental picture. Okay? Hyperactivity. Okay, so we have these synapses going back and forth between the left and the right, but then we have these like fuses that blow. And then they're not looking at you anymore. They actually usually have very good imagery, but it's not focused imagery. Okay? So they may be in New York City shopping when the teacher is talking. Okay? So they do have good, the visualization isn't bad, it's just not focused visualization. That's ADD.
It could be, because I've seen thousands of kids.
Yeah.
In the younger years, they could demonstrate that kind of thing, but as they get older, it disappears.
Right. Right.
I wouldn't label them. I'm just saying.
These I don't want that. I'm about to say that.
Okay.
I'm about to say that it's not a label. The goal here is not the label. The goal here is what's impeding getting us to this comprehension disorder. Yeah. It's an immaturity, and that's exactly right. The ADD kid has the immaturity where they're just spacing out. The ADHD kid has the immaturity where they're just jumping on chairs. So it's one or the other, but either way, they end up with a comprehension disorder. And then, this is
temporary. That's what I'm trying to say.
all of this can be temporary. That's why we're here. We are here because I believe we could actually fix this. And that's the goal of this program. And I've seen since 1999, teachers who use and teach imagery for these kinds of kids, they do take care of this.
Yeah.
They are able to totally change a kid's life. And I'm going to talk about, and then I'm just using the other kids that are just labeled learning disordered or things like that. But, one of the very interesting things, by the way, is when you teach visualization, verbalization, and you're able to correct it within the reading, it's also game-changing for life. Because once they can learn that they have to visualize and you teach them how to visualize, their nervousness, right? Because so much of anxiety is built on the fact that you cannot visualize. Okay, so like, for example, a kid has to take a test, right? They're nervous. I'm going to give a very simple explanation. They're nervous about taking the test. Coaches all across the country work with baseball and basketball and football stars to visualize themselves with the goal. Okay, now I'm not a good sports person, except for that I did grow up in Cleveland, so I know football. So, right? So, like, they didn't do a good job because, the Browns always lost, but they tried, right? Right? The goal was to visualize them catching that touchdown in the end zone. So all sports people go through this, right? So when we teach visualization, not only is it going to help them with reading comprehension, but it helps them life learning lessons of how to get past a very nervous situation. And that's one of the things we saw in the hospital. You're going through chemotherapy, but we're going to visualize you graduating from chemotherapy. We're going to have that visualization of that party when you leave the hospital, right? We're going to talk about that entire party that's going to happen when you go. So these are not just skills for reading. These are lifelong lessons, okay? Now, there's three things: auditory, which you hear, visual, and language. Now, the reason I put these three circles is so many times a kid has a hearing problem, and we're like, he can't read, he can't understand what he's reading. Well, he can't hear you, so that's a problem. He needs tubes. Or visual, he needs glasses, and that would improve his reading, right? And language, he needs a little bit of language therapy. So the reason I say this is because there's so many areas that interact, and we have to make sure all of them are working. Okay. These are the type of kids, and these are the comments that end up in the reading comprehension issue: poor reading, weak oral language, weak ability to follow directions, weak sense of humor, asks and re-asks questions that have been answered, loses attention, doesn't get cause and effect, poor expressive language, misses the main idea. Verbalization is scattered, like we can't get a story out of them. There's no beginning, middle, and end. These are the kinds of comments that people would say. I'm going to skip that. Yeah.
Can I get a printout just of that page?
Yeah.
Super important.
Yeah, because okay. Now, one of the trainings of visualization is Gestalt thinking. Gestalt thinking means we look at the whole picture. So you'll see that I'm going to train you on how to go over with a kid Gestalt thinking. It's a big piece of this. Okay. Language comprehension is the ability to connect, to interpret. It's the ability to recall facts and get the main idea and draw a conclusion. So all that other stuff, that higher level thinking, it comes from Gestalt, and you're going to see it as we practice this, okay? These are the two hemispheres. Okay, it just shows you those activities that follow the right, okay? And the reason I'm running through this is because I really want to give a chance for practice and modeling, which is more important than these things that you can sort of read on your own, okay? But this is the right side, okay? And these are the things that we do that are very right-brained, all right? A lot of art, a lot of creative, And, all right, the process. So this is really important screen because it breaks it down. So a child needs to have reading comprehension. A child needs to understand oral language comprehension. Oral language expression. They have to be able to express themselves. Then goes the written. Then goes the critical thinking. Now, when I did this slide last time, I realized I believe that this starts first. And I believe that parents of kids 0 to 5 are the ones who should be working on oral language comprehension, right? In the ideal world, this is covered in preschool. If you say to a child, please pick up the block and put it in the block center, right? That's oral language comprehension if they can follow that. And that is actually many times, especially in boys, coming before the language, them able to speak. Big things when we have kids in the center that come in late, which, by the way, very, very, very popular here in South Florida due to the multiple languages spoken in a house, right? I always joked around when I first moved here in 2008. I said, is there anybody that speaks on time? And it was good, though, right? They're speaking Spanish, they're speaking English, they're speaking Creole, there's Hebrew. There's just multiple languages going on in the house these days. So you have a lot of delayed speakers. When we see that they can do, yeah.
Do you talking about the receptive language comes first and then
Should,
they express it?
right.
Specifically for males, or is that?
Males generally tend to be delayed speakers more than females. There are females that are also delayed speakers, but if you look at the numbers, males, they don't talk as much, okay? And if they come to this office and we can see that they could understand what we're saying, there is a 90% chance that they will end up being expressive speakers. We do not get so nervous. Yeah, go through speech therapy, whatever. But by 3.5, they'll probably, equal. They do not have oral language comprehension, then we're talking about a different diagnosis. And I think that's very, very, very important because boys tend to speak later, so you don't really know exactly what's going on. And we'll do a simple test. Hey, can you pick that up and bring it to the garbage? If they can do that, there's a very strong likelihood they will end up speaking. Unfortunately, we have tested a few autistic kids that had this. They had the oral language comprehension and never became verbal. I guess that's the mystery of autism. But there's only been like 2 or 3 in our entire practice that happened to. And the vast majority who had oral language comprehension did end up being verbal, just a little late. But you really have to have this first. Then you learn reading, okay? Speaking, written, and this critical thinking is very important. So like the main idea, what's the beginning, middle, and end of a story? It's not happening until you're able to really go through this process. Okay. Now I'm going to walk you through the actual program, and we are going to practice this, okay? So we are not going to be able to do all of this today. The goal is to go through climate, picture to picture. That's what you're set up for. I will explain what all the rest of this is, and you can practice on your own. But the goal is to walk out of here, be able to start this with the student, which is what the climate's all about, be able to do the first part, which is picture to picture. Word imaging isn't that different, and then do the rest of it, okay? All right. So in the climate part of the program, any questions up till now? Okay. The climate has one job, that the student knows what you're doing, okay? So it's basically selling the student on this program. This is a program that you and I are going to be working on. I'm going to explain to you what we're doing, and I'm going to explain to you why it's important for you to learn this, okay? So the student will know what he or she is doing. Like there's no like shock and whatever. The kid knows what we're doing. It explains the program to the student. It explains gesturing. Now, depending on the IQ, just one second, some of the higher functioning kids, you can spend a little more time in climate. Some of the lower functioning kids, you don't spend that much time in climate. Okay, go ahead.
When you say climate, what exactly are you meaning? Climate of the classroom, climate
No,
of the
no, no, no,
topic,
no, no,
the
no.
lesson?
The visualization, verbalization could be done in a classroom. It could be done in a small group, and it could be done one-on-one. Climate is explaining to how many students you're working with. Doesn't make a difference how many. What you're doing. Okay. What we're doing. You'll see. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. And like what the whole program is all about. Like we are teaching visualization. You'll see. Okay. Okay. So this is an example, and that's why you do need these books. Sippy, can you ask Rebecca, did she print these books? Because
She emails them to everyone at the end of the presentation.
okay, so all of these slides, you will get an email of this presentation. You can use in whatever slide you want. Okay. So in this program, this part of the climate, where you are now my classroom, and I am the teacher, okay? And I'm going to show you what you're doing via pictures, right? So here's what you say. Words, right? This is a girl. She's talking. Girl is hearing these words, right? Is understanding what this girl is telling her. So let's use an example. Right? Describing a cat or something like that. And this boy is hearing these words, and he is now saying back cat, right? And that's what we're explaining. In other words, our words create pictures in other people's minds. And the way you describe it is going to help me understand it. So what we're teaching in this part of the lesson is your words give me an image, and I repeat back to you that image or that word, and I then can tell you. There's a very simple game like this, right? Where they have games like this that are put out. You pick a card. It's a car, right? You have to describe the car, right? And the other person has to guess the word. That's basically what you're teaching. And if you want to use that while you're doing climate, you can do that. You can say, hey, let's practice this because this is what we're going to be doing. It's a very simple visualization. My words create a picture in your brain. And then you can then either repeat back the picture, right? Or you can say the word that matches the picture, right? So if I said to you, I see a square with brown little edges. It's something that you eat on Passover, right? I'm just using Passover because it's still in my head. You'll answer matzah, right? I see that matzah. You may ask clarifications, like I used Passover, so I gave it away. But maybe you saw at the beginning, you weren't able to. What is she talking about? A square, brown? You know, maybe you actually had forgotten about Passover. You know what I'm saying? Right? So you want to practice with each other this concept. My words, that's why it's called visualization, verbalization. My words give you a picture, and that picture gives you a word, right? Right? I have the word, I have it, I explain it, and you guys get it. Okay, so we're going to just spend 2 minutes, pick a partner, have a word, see if you guys can guess it from each other. Okay, go ahead. Got to practice. You got to practice. Do me a favor, just get me a cup of water. Also, Emily, look at my purse and see if there's any change. I forgot to give out change. Yeah, ice is fine. You actually have to think, right? Okay. Thank you.
Is everyone taking videos?
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
You don't have any quarters or anything? Okay, look in my drawer. If I have any, if in my drawer, I forgot about it. Okay.
Really good.
Yeah? Okay, we're going to stop here. Good practice. We'll continue. Okay, so this is the thing that you're explaining. You're explaining to a kid that they have a picture in their head called a cat. They're describing it. First, you're blank. You don't know. You have a blank head. Wait, I want to stop for one. I want to just say one thing. This is very important. You want to be able, you see, what you're showing the kids is, this kid has a cat, right? This is what you did. What's your name?
Olivia.
Olivia had a picture in her mind, okay? The other person, who's your partner? Serene? Okay. Irene. Irene, you had a blank space. Now, this blank space is very, very important. You may want to do an activity to blank their mind. Blink 10 times. Clear your mind, okay? You want to teach the kids that they have to clear their mind. So you know that little fight that you just got in the playground? No. We need a clear mind, okay? Then, because without a clear mind, then I can't visualize. That's a big piece, right? Now I'm saying that he's describing the cat, and this kid is going, oh, yeah. Now I see what you are seeing, right? And that's what you guys were doing. You were visualizing what the other person was describing, okay? That's part of the climate. Okay. The last thing you're going to teach them is gesturing. So sometimes the best way to explain it is by using your hands, right? It's this big, or it's that big, or it's this tall, you know? Gesturing is important. The reason gesturing is important is two reasons. First of all, it helps you if you're struggling with that visual word. But also, I want you to think about this. When you take your left arm, you move it, it stimulates the right brain, okay? Those of us that are a little older, right? We're not yet Alzheimer's, but we're having some senior moments sometimes, right? We don't really have official dementia, but sometimes it feels that way. I got to think, what is that word that I'm thinking about? What is that word that I'm thinking about? Using the left to stimulate the right will help you. Using the right to stimulate the left is when you have to spell a word. Okay? What? Or do math. Okay? So sometimes you're stuck. You're in a chair, you can't move, and you're like in that stuck mode. Use the left to stimulate the right, like that visual picture. My God, what is that name that I'm trying to remember? Okay? Use the left. What is that multiplication rule, you know, that I need to remember on the left side? So close your eyes, help you visualize, use your hands. And also, if you cannot remember exactly something, like you say, well, he's medium tall, but the person who you're talking to doesn't understand what that means, you're using your things to show certain things. So gesturing is very important, and we want to encourage gesturing. Now, since we've gone through about a half an hour, I want everybody to stand up. Okay? We are going to prepare ourselves for visualization, okay? We're going to take a deep breath in through the nose. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath out through the mouth. Do not use your mouth, because if you use your mouth to take a deep breath in, that stimulates not good stuff. It's like that means something's bad that's happening. That's not what you want. In through your nose, out through your mouth. You may want to raise your hand. You may want to clap. You may want to lean forward, bring it down. This is called slanting, okay? And this helps you. And sometimes we don't spend enough time. I am a big yoga proponent. I do yoga every single day. And I'm a big proponent of it, teaching yoga moves, okay? So I want to tell you something. Have a seat. We've been piloting, if you want these, we have them. We have been piloting, I saw in the New York City IEPs that yoga moves were put into an IEP for a kid. I got very excited because I was like, oh, I can't do anything that isn't research-based, right? So I called the school that put them in. They're like, yes, there's this research study. Actually, Sippy looked it up for me, that shows that yoga movement helps with reading, helps with improving, right? So we've created, for anybody who wants, the beginning, only like we're not talking complex moves here, okay? We're not talking about standing on your head, talking simple yoga poses, and we have a PowerPoint for it. So anybody who wants it, more than welcome to give it. Practice doing the yoga poses because it helps. So one of the yoga poses that's in our PowerPoint is the star pose, and it's just sitting there like this. It's spreading out. And by the way, this is very good for teaching A, but you know, things like that, you know? So it'll help in between. Okay, moving right along. All right, so now we are going to do picture to picture. So climate now is we've told the kids what we're doing. We've explained the cognition, and you can explain the difference between the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. Every single thing you did in the beginning, you can go over with a student, a class, okay? And now we're going to practice using a picture, okay? All right, here are the steps, and then we're going to practice this. So the steps are, student looks at a picture, okay? He describes the picture. The teacher asks questions. The teacher introduces the structure words. The teacher sees the picture, and the teacher summarizes, okay? So what is, and I'm going to show you the next thing. Okay. In front of you, open up your cards. Yeah. You will see that in your cards, you have all of these structure words. They come with pictures. Before you start picture to picture, you will go over these structure words with the child. What? What does what mean? Color, you got to make sure they understand what the structure words are. These are a sample of 12 structure words, but these are by no means the end of structure words. You can add in your own structure words. I'm going to use these today and explain them to you. By the way, the cards were made for Jewish day schools, culturally approved for Jewish day schools. We are open. Last time, 2 times ago, I had a different version of a game that we did not have for the non-Jewish students, and it was very nice. A teacher made for me some updates. So now we have, when one of the games that Tree of Knowledge has is Get to Know Your Students, we have Get to Know Your cards in the Jewish world and Get to Know Your students in the non-Jewish world. If you look at these structure words and feel that they're not culturally appropriate for your students need to see something else, please send them to Rebecca and she will update them structure words for your students, okay? Because it's very, very important that kids feel that they are a part of the culture and that you understand the culture in which they live. So it is not that we didn't want to do it, this was just taken from another updated version. Now, in the original visualization verbalization created by Linda Moot Bell, they do not allow pictures on the structure word cards because what they want the student to do is visualize what? Is visualize color. So I kind of been doing this for a while, and I feel that you can start with picture structure words and move them off of that. So the goal is not to always be using pictures. They should know what colors. They should see in their mind different colors when we do colors. Yes?
I agree because when I took it,
Right.
A lot of when I started practicing,
Right.
a lot of my students didn't know what perspective means.
Exactly.
Or movement. Or
Exactly. So,
the harder words,
right.
So it was always easier.
Right. So I feel like after 20 years of basically using the program, it's okay to start with pictures, but you should really be getting them off the pictures. The second thing is you can create your own additional structure words. Nobody says not to. And then there's another part of the program we took out. If you went to Linda Moot Bell, what did we take out? Felt. We took out the felt pieces. Okay, so I'm going to explain that. In our original trainings, when Vivian and I were doing it, there were 12 colors associated with the different structure words. And we're not doing the pure Lindenwood Bell. We're doing our adapted version after 20 years of doing this. They have colored felts, and each structure word doesn't have a picture. It's associated with a color, okay? We found that none of our practitioners were using the felt. So we just said, the first 5 years of us doing the training, we were handing out felt pieces. Then we were going around to schools. Felt pieces were always like not even in the teacher's desk. Like they were like used for arts and crafts projects. We're like, okay, we're not doing this. But there is a concept, and I talk about it just so that you know. There is a concept of taking these 12 words, cutting up 12 different colors of felt, and teaching each structure word with a different color of felt. Okay, and if you use it in its purity sense, like if you buy a visualization, verbalization box, which, by the way, we own and keep here, and you're more than welcome. We have, I think, 2 boxes for you to look through if you feel like maybe there's something in that box that speaks to you. One of the things is the colored felt. Yeah.
So interesting. When I go to TJ Maxx and I'm assigned in a shoe,
Right.
I look for purple. I don't look for the numbers.
See?
So interesting.
So Lindenwood Bell had a lot of research supporting the fact of using felt for 2 reasons. One is the color associated with it, and 2, because it was a sensory piece that the kids put their hands. I don't know if you ever went through it. Kids, when they're doing structure words, the kids put their hands on that felt. We took it out. We could bring it back, whatever you guys feel, but there is that piece. It just wasn't working for our school, so we just stopped using it. Okay. What I want you to do now, 2 minutes, review the structure words. You can create your own. These are added ones that you will not see in the regular structured, okay? Before I start picture to picture, review the 12 cards that's in front of you. And yes, we are going to go through perspective and a few of them just for me to explain. Okay, what is the whole picture? Okay, and here is the gesturing that you need to use. That's that Gestalt thinking. I don't want you to tell me, I see apple. I want you to be able to tell me what is in the picture. There is a boy that is holding an apple. Okay? What includes speaking in full sentence? So we do not want to get partial words. We want to have them take the picture, and this is why they structure. And what? Look at the whole picture. Spend a minute looking at it. Now use your words to tell me the entire thing, because we're training them on the what. Okay, size is pretty much what it is. What's the size of the people in the picture? Number, do you see 1? Do you see 2? Do you see 3? Movement. Movement's a little harder because in a still picture, you don't really see a lot of movement, but you're kind of teaching them what movement do you think they would be doing, okay? Because you're not actually seeing like a real movement. Shapes are easy, right? Mood. This is an inferred one. Like what mood? Do you see them looking happy, sad, you know, that kind of stuff?
So interesting because the mood piece I find for autistics or children on
They can't get it. Right. They can't look at a picture. This is exactly what they can't do, which is why this program is used for social skills as well. Because you're teaching them how to look for the mood. Oh, do you see them smiling? Point to the smile. Oh, now I know they're happy. Sometimes you're right. If you're working with a kid who has socialization issues, it has to literally be trained to them. Okay, where, that's pretty easy. When, sound again is a lot of times a very literal kid, right? We'll say, oh, well, I don't see any sound in the picture. And you have to say to them, well, what sounds do you think in this picture? What sounds do you think you're going to hear, right? If you show them a picture of school, right? What sounds do you think I'm going to hear? Oh, I'm going to hear a bell, a teacher talking, children playing. I'm going to hear a lot of talk. This is an inference, again, and this is for the literal kids. This is a very hard thing to do. The number one hard one is perspective. Okay, Someone's like, what do you mean? What does that mean? Where am I? Okay, it's where you're standing in the picture. Where do you see this picture? Perspective is, if I'm it's hard. It's a hard one. If I'm looking at this picture and I see this girl, right, and we're gonna go through this. Well, where am I in this picture? No, you're not. Where are you? You're not here in the center. If you saw this picture, you're in the picture. You're visualizing you're actually in the picture. Where would you be standing?
In front of her.
In
Front of her.
in where?
In the park.
Exactly. You'd be in the park watching this girl. So perspective is, where am I to be able to see this picture? It's very high. That's like the highest level one and the hardest one. And again, you don't have to do all the structure cards right away. Because some kids, like you said, they struggle with a lot of other ones. This practice of structure cards is very important before you even start the picture. So I'm going to give you, let's see what time it is. Okay, it's 12:17. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Look at those cards. Talk amongst yourselves about the cards and see if there's any questions. And we're going to go straight into picture to picture because you need to leave knowing how to do picture to picture. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll do all of them. And when they're very young, like they're very young.
What school are you from?
Sharabina.
Oh, very nice. Okay. So these are perfect. Although for high school, middle school, you also may want to update them.
Yeah, I was ready, as you were saying, what I'm really trying to do is really get them to be creative with
Right.
comprehension. So I was thinking maybe I could do an activity where I have each girl spend like maybe 2 minutes max drawing out a picture, and then I change them in different ways
Right,
and
and
make them write a story
Right.
based on
Yeah.
that picture.
Yeah.
So it's someone else's imagination.
So that's in the written comprehension. We're not going to get to that, but that's what you would get to.
Yeah, I was thinking of ways to like adapt it to
Yeah, because you're an older group of kids. Where does she teach?
Landau.
Landau. Okay. Okay.
Everything that they see, so like the main idea of the picture for them. And then
Here,
pick one
what do
thing,
you,
what's the
street
size of
over
the
here?
apple, you know, big apples, or
Right. Exactly.
It's like
Okay. Okay, you guys got the general gist. We're going to start. We're going to do picture to picture. And we're going to do it with two. We're going to try to get through this one picture, okay? And we're going to go back. There is an actual script for picture to picture, which she will attach and send you. Okay, we're going to work today without the script, but there is an actual script. Okay, there is an actual script for this. Okay, so let's go back and go through the levels. In picture to picture, the student is going to describe the entire picture, okay? The teacher is going to ask clarifying questions. Then the teacher is going to use the structure words as a review. You'll see, right? Then the teacher is going to see the picture. She may have left out vital details, okay? She may not have. She may say, oh, I didn't visualize it this way, okay? And then the teacher is going to summarize. So the picture that we're using is this picture, okay? Now, each team, one be the teacher, one be the student, okay? First, I'm going to go over it again. First, the student, you say to the student, here's a picture. I do not see this picture. I have to create this image in my mind, okay? Obviously, you have seen the picture, but they don't know that, right? I need you to describe to me the picture. Gestalt thinking, whole picture first. Take a step back. Whole picture before you go into the. Then you're going to describe for me the details. You can ask any clarifying questions, okay? Then you're going to use your structure cards because you've already introduced the structure cards. They already know what they are. Did you do this? Did you do size? And structure cards help the student go, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you there's one Squirrel. There's one teacher. And then the teacher then's going to say, okay, now I'm going to review what you said, and now I'm going to look at the picture, and I'm going to see if you missed anything. By the way, I have a lot of teachers that come to my trainings, and they're like, oh my God, I can't even remember what she said. You know what I'm saying? So that's very important. You have to be able to focus very carefully. Have asked me, which is why you have a notebook in front of you. Teach, write notes as this girl is talking or as this boy is talking. Absolutely. You know, and you should encourage them to write notes because note-taking helps you remember what it is that the kid said, okay? So we are going to practice this, and I'll walk around and assist you. Yes, you have a question before we start.
Are they supposed to, is the person being, like, listening supposed to close their eyes? Because then the gesturing doesn't help.
Right. No.
Okay.
No. You're supposed to close your eyes before, right? I'm clearing my mind. I'm breathing in and out. And now I want to be able to, no. You want to see their hands. You want to see the way they describe things. No. You're not closed. Yeah. And it may help you. And some students need to be able to write notes down on it. Some teachers draw, right? You should know I did Navi as a second language. At the same time that I was training in the Cleveland Clinic, I was teaching Navi to high school Russia kids from just came out of the Soviet Union. I started like practicing with them, drawing the story of Navi while I was talking, so they could see like that, you know, that concept of it. There's nothing wrong with drawing. It's okay. You should be drawing if that helps you. Okay? All right, go ahead. Practice.
I'm going to describe.
Hi, sir. Where do you teach? Where do you teach? Do you teach at Yeshiva Elementary? Oh, Torah Semes. We have a nice review of all the people.
Describe using these.
One person is the teacher, one person is the student. The student describes the entire picture. Then the teacher asks questions like, you know, then you say, okay, review now using the structure words. And then you see the picture and you summarize, oh, well, you missed this detail. I didn't think of this detail this way. Okay?
Thank you so much. I'm having the best time.
Oh, good.
Do it all the time.
Where do you teach again? Okay, great.
And it's so funny. I always give an introduction.
Right.
I don't just teach the kids to tell them.
Right. But if you think about it, like the first think good, you'll feel good, right? You gotta think it first. This in Lakewood. I did it before Pesach. I said, guys, we got to think. How are we going to get along with our daughter-in-law? We have to visualize. For me, I visualize coming back to Florida, having a massage. You can't imagine. I said, I'm going to take a day in Manhattan after Pesach. Like I had total reward set up in my brain for keeping my mouth shut.
I'm going to follow you around.
Total
So why
rewards.
were we laughing?
Oh, because we talk about remembering, you know.
We can't remember, so we opened the fridge. I can't remember.
Exactly.
That's what does that.
Exactly. Where do you teach? Oh, very nice. It's really what? Okay, but Korea could be. You could use this a lot. You could make the same cards with Hebrew. Yeah.
When I was, I've been a
first grade teacher.
Yeah.
I told Korea, now I
Yeah.
I called one of my mentors because I had a kid. I'm like, she's not gonna learn how to read. Like, what
Right.
am I doing? This is my second year teaching Korean. And she said, describe what you're seeing. So I described her, and she said to me, this girl that you're describing to me does not seem to have a place to file the sounds of the nakudos in her mind.
Right.
So you have to give her an icon.
Right.
She said, you tell her that says but she doesn't know what an is.
Right.
So give her an icon. And I came up with the cards that I literally had.
Amazing.
And I then thought this kid was a visual, like I've never seen, like even Harsha, started with Harsha with visualization.
Right.
Some story, and then Hazara was pictures. That year, I talked.
So I get myself into such trouble because when I do Lakewood, right? I get myself into trouble with visual pictures, because some of them are so mocked, like the Hasidic schools. They go crazy when I do it. But I have a very funny story. I taught this to Rebbes in Cleveland many, many years ago. Rebbes from TELS. TELS Rebbes came because the kids that were struggling talked about visualization, great visualization. And now it's so like what I did then now is so normal. Like, Mishkan, draw it out. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. I said, so what are you teaching in Gemara? So they were like, oh, no. I'm like, what are you teaching? Like, it can't be whatever. Anyways, I don't know Gemara, so what they told me was like this very, women, female, but I had no idea. So I was like, well, you could draw this out. My husband's sitting in the back of the room, and he's going, I was like, oh, okay, you get, okay. But initially, yes, you want to draw it out, but the goal of this program is that they see it in their minds.
So that's what the teacher explained to me. So I literally made
Right. Right.
And that's what took years. I was first grade teacher for
Right.
10 years. I always had my kids that had my
Right.
and then eventually I would
Take them away, right? That's what. But they had it first, right? 100%, 100%. Okay. I don't know whose phone is that, but okay. All right, I'm going to bring everybody together because I want to sort of wrap this up. When you get your picture-to-picture, when you get this PowerPoint, you'll see a few different pictures. These pictures were developed by the Visualization Verbalization Program. Again, I talked to different people. You can start with stick figures. You can add color. You can make it more complicated. But one thing I will tell you, the research shows that in the beginning, keep it simple. So that they don't have that. That's why this picture is a little bit more simple than this picture. But there, you start with very simple pictures. Just to give you an example, when we're doing in my previous lifetime, I did early intervention with babies, and we were showing pictures of their mom and pictures of their dad and pictures of their uncle and pictures of their sister. How to this. This is going to help you with story starters because you're telling a story as a part of this picture. It helps for giving and following instructions and directions, and it helps with metacognition because when you can do this visualization, you can calm down. So just to give you an example, I was just telling the women behind, so I'll just end with this. We just went through what I would call for Jewish women a very of time period. Okay, there's a lot of hysteria added to the Passover experience. And when I gave this last time, I said, visualize yourself getting through it. Visualize yourself the people that may annoy you. And we won't mention names, Give yourself a reward at the end. Are you going to get a massage? Are you going to, I don't know, buy yourself that pair of glasses? What is a reward? And if you can visualize all of this, then you could be like, okay, whatever, okay. Very, very important real life things. And I say that to teachers as well. There are some students that come in and they're a dream. They're like, oh my goodness, this program's going to be amazing. The kid loves it. You start working with them, la, la, la. But then there are those that are not a dream. Sometimes they're a nightmare. And you have to get yourself through that they are going to make progress, that you are going to be able to establish that relationship. And sometimes you yourself have to visualize, I believe that this kid, he may not become a fluent reader. He may not become the best at reading comprehension. My interaction with him is going to move him forward. And you have to use that visualization piece. Because so many times in my life, when people have thought this kid is done, this parent is goodbye, I think miracles have happened. And we have in education those aha moments. And the goal is to work on this. It's a little teeny piece. Eventually, we'll have more training, get you through all the different processes. I just want to end the way I began. Thank you for all that you do. Enjoy the lunch. Give us feedback. Thanks. What? Oh, I think there's a sheet on there. Isn't there? There is a sheet. Yeah, no, the feedback sheet. Oh, yes, it is. And on this, and not, if we pass it around, and not only can you write here, but feel free to write notes like, well, next time I would like this, or this is somebody who I think is really good you should bring in. As much as I love talking to everybody, I'm very open to ideas. Okay? Thank you very much. Yeah.
So what age is this ideal?
Oh, very good. I think that's a very good point. In the perfect world, at 3 years old, visualization training should start. Once a kid is fluent in speaking, right, you should start.
Right.
3 to 5 is the ideal time because that's when language is still growing. Right. So we have the 3 to 5 intensive. Brain is still growing, right? After that, we know that, right, who came from a foreign country after 9 years old will retain some sort of accent. You'll learn it. You can learn a second language, but it won't be as perfect, right? So the ideal is 3 to 5. The next window is 5 to 9. 9 and up, for those of you that are teaching middle school and high school, sometimes we just got to remediate. We just got to fix.
All my students are
High school. Oh, right.
High school, but English is not their first language.
Right.
So this is literally what I do every single the beginning.
Right.
When I say a word, they don't know how to use words in context because they have no idea what it means. So
Right.
I start visualizing.
Right. The number one way to teach vocabulary is through visualization, and I always give this example. When I was studying the periodic table, which I don't remember any of it, in one ear, out the other, but my teacher taught me that when somebody steals your gold watch, you say AU. So I know that AU stands for gold. So any kind of visualization, she did the periodic table with one thing, with visualization of somebody stealing your watch. And I'll never forget that. Okay? Okay.
Never forget this.